Before I speak about the main topic of this video, I wanted to take a brief aside very quickly at the beginning to just appreciate Pablo Fornals as a man. Because when players are at West Ham, and it's the same for any football club, you never really get the opportunity to really appreciate them as a person. You only really think about it in terms of performance, right? And with Pablo Fornals, there was a lot going on about whether people thought he was good enough, whether people liked the way he played, whether he was playing even in the right position. There was a constant conversation about, is he being wasted on the left? Should he be playing in the centre? Should he be in an 8, a 10? All of this other hubbub that goes around when a player is at the club, because we have to focus on performances, because that's really what we care about, right? We care about the players performing well, the players playing well, getting the results, getting the wins, winning, all that stuff. Like, that's the stuff we care about. So we sort of missed the point a little bit. And obviously a lot of people have praised Pablo for his off the field stuff, but now he's gone and we don't have to care about his performances anymore. We don't have to care about the ancillary stuff. We can just take a moment, or I at least want to take a moment, to go, what a man. Truly came in, truly embraced what it was to be a West Ham player, because it's so often that players come in and don't do that. And that's not necessarily a criticism, you know? They care about performances just as much as we do. They care about results probably even more than we do, because it's literally their livelihood as players. And so a player comes in, does well, you can be nice with us, the fans, you can be nice with the media, you can do fun celebrations, whatever it is. You can do all that stuff and not truly embrace what it is to be a West Ham player. Pablo Fornals embraced that. And I think it's something that I don't want to take for granted, because it is so rare. At a club where we have had a lot of turnover, a lot of players coming in, a lot of players going out, you have to look at how many strikers we've bought under Gold Sullivan and Brady, their tenure at the club, to know just how many of these things come in. To see someone come in from Spain and truly, truly embrace it, I think it's special. And I wanted to take a moment just to appreciate that and say, Pablo Fornals, what a guy. What an absolute guy. Love him. Absolute love him everywhere we go and all that stuff. But now to the point of the video, and back to the performance-based stuff that we're talking about, because Moyes has to change. He must. He can't get away with it again, right? Not to say he got away with it necessarily the first time. There were boos at halftime, boos at full time, but he can't get away with it again. And what I mean by that is playing all four of these central midfielders just does not work. It doesn't. Now, before the previous game, when I did the build-up show with Gio on the main channel, we were talking about it, and I was still excited for the game. I was worried about the lineup, but I was sort of willing to give it a pass, and my excitement to see Kalvin Phillips playing, all that sort of stuff, overruled it a little bit. And I said to Gio, the next game, the game after that, I will probably feel differently about this lineup existing, but for now, I'll accept it. Never again. It can't happen again. It has to change. Playing all four of these players just does not work. It takes away so many elements of what we're good at, of what other players are good at, and of what those specific players are good at. Playing James Ward-Prowse on the left, doing his best impression of Lucas Paquetá, is not a good idea. It is not something that works for the club. It's not something that works for him, and it's not something that works for, just as importantly, everyone else around him. Because that's kind of the point here. When we look at someone like James Ward-Prowse playing on the left, for example, and we go, right, he's the one who, if Lucas Paquetá is, if you have a scale of least Paquetá to most Paquetá, and that's 10, the most is 10, he might only be at like a 2. But he's closer than anyone else, right? So I get the idea of putting James Ward-Prowse there. I understand what Moyes thought by going, right, we're going to try and put them together. And what Gio said probably is slightly true about not really knowing who was available and who wasn't. We know, for example, the man, Pablo Fornals, was available, or was set to be available for the last game, but that changed quite late on. So I understand him trying to sort of put pieces together that he doesn't know are fully existing. But we've seen with our own eyes that it does not work, and it just will not work. It takes away so much of our attacking threat playing all four of those players, and it's not even necessarily because they're four central midfielders or defensive midfielders, because I don't think James Ward-Prowse is necessarily that, but it's not even necessarily that. That's the problem. The problem is you put Tomas Soucek in the 10. Okay, right, well, what's Tomas Soucek good at? He's good in one box and he's good in the other, but everything in between he's not very good at. He's bad at, right? So he's good at defending, he's good at the attacking bit. So what do? You put him directly in the middle of those two aspects and expect that to work? He's not very good at pressing from the front. So you can write that off. That's highlighting a negative of his. He's not very good at creating. He's not a creative player. So you put him in the role which is arguably one of the most creative in the team. So that takes away all of that and highlights again his negativity. And it just doesn't work. Okay, right. Okay, so where's James Ward-Prowse? Well, he's on the left. What's James Ward-Prowse good at? Well, he's good at that sort of frontline pressing. He can kind of do that from the left, although he has to drop very deep. And he's good at sort of progressing the ball in that 10 position. He's good at progressing from there. He's not very good at progressing from deep, but he's good at progressing from that sort of central 10 position. So you play him on the left where he's going to have to drop deep because wingers track back and progress from deep, which he's not very good at. And he can't press as much as he did previously. So he can't really get that. So you're, again, dampening all of his good points and highlighting his negative points. Okay, right, fine. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And those things negatively impacts everyone else. Because part of the power of Bowen and Kudus, for example, on the right-hand side, is when we are playing at our best and we have Paquetá on the left, we focus our play down there because there's so many good technical players. You have Paquetá, you have Emerson. They can link up nicely and do a bit of trickery and get forward and do nice stuff there. And you see Paquetá do it all the time. He stops, he stands still, he waits for the opponents to be drawn in towards him. And what does that do? Creates a whole bucket load of space on that right-hand side for Bowen, for Kudus, even for Soufal getting forward. A whole heap load of that space. And Paquetá is good enough to either do a little bit of nice Brazilian trickery, link-up play with Emerson, little flick here and there, bang, 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 and they're off down the wing. Or, we've also seen it time and time again, Paquetá go, right, he drops a little bit deep and then hits this beautiful cross-field diag, just straight across the pitch, into the path of Soufal, into the path of Kudus, who have acres of space all of a sudden to really go at people in that space. Well, James Ward-Prowse can't do that either. And by playing someone there who can't do that, you're making that right-hand side completely weak as well because you're nullifying the ability to get the ball to them quickly. Now, Kalvin Phillips has the ability to hit those crossfield diags. We saw it a couple of times in that game. Nea Figuered can do it, but obviously he wasn't playing, so we ignore that. So you see how putting someone out of position in left wing, but you can broadly talk about this across the pitch, not only affects them and their role or the people immediately next them, it has a knock-on effect on the entire team. And that is why I believe that you cannot play these four players together because there simply isn't a way to do it. We were slightly better in the second half where we changed to a sort of diamond-y thing and that kind of makes more sense for these four players, but it still doesn't make sense for the rest of the team. I think the 4-2-3-1 is the way to go, but it cannot be James Ward-Prowse on the left. It cannot be Soucek at the 10 position because those things do not work and they negatively impact everyone else. And that means we are a less threat going forward in a team where we already don't create enough chances. It's basically just like cutting off your own feet for no reason whatsoever. When you don't have to do it, Maxwell Cornet is there. He has to start on the left. And controversially, I said this on the preview. I said it during the watch along. I get Moyes not wanting to play Maxwell Cornet. I don't particularly think he's that good. I don't rate Cornet, okay? I look at his time at Burnley, I thought he was brilliant. I look at his time pre that, I thought he was brilliant. When we signed him, I was really excited. Those first games he played for us, I was really hyped. He should have got the goal against Chelsea. That shouldn't have been disallowed. I was really excited for Maxwell Cornet. He got this big injury. It is what it is. These things happen. It's unfortunate. We've seen it with other players like Dean Ashton. It's a horrible thing to happen to a player. He has this huge, life-changing, career-changing injury. We see how he comes off on the other side of that. And initially in those first couple of performances, I thought there was something there. There was a bit of excitement there. He's doing some stuff. He slowly got worse and worse and worse and worse, and he hasn't been able to put two good performances together. And if anything, I can count the amount of good performances he's had probably on one hand. Big caveat of this, of course, is that he has nowhere near enough game time. He's barely playing any minutes. How is he meant to impact the game, David Moyes, when he comes on, 93rd minute in the last game? What the hell is he going to do there? What's going to happen there? What were you thinking was going to happen? Because I tell you what, nothing was going to happen. We know this. But that doesn't remove from the fact that actually he still hasn't played very well. He's had there was a great performance he had in Europe this year. Outside of that, I don't think he's played particularly well in any other games. I might be wrong about that, but I understand David Moyes' reluctance to play him because of that. I get it. I would have equal reluctance. The problem is without Paquetá, and now we've sold Fornals and Benrahma, you don't have any other options. Kadu is out on loan, Marshall's out on loan. Those are the two people who I would have said could potentially do it. You don't have any other options. Once Antonio comes back, we can start to figure some things out. There's an argument I would make for starting Mubama up front and then playing, say, Jared Bowen on the left, although that's not good for Bowen. That's not his thing. It's better than putting James Ward-Prowse there. Look, right now, Bowen has to start up front. Kudus has to start on the right. Therefore, you have to start Cornet on the left. You just have to. I don't particularly rate him. I think you have to. And if I see the lineup come out tomorrow and we're doing the build-up show and Gio's there and Gonzo's there and I'm typing up the lineups in the background for when it gets announced so I can bring it up on the screen and I see those 4 names again, Alvarez, Phillips, Soucek, Ward-Prowse, I'm going to be fuming. The thing is, I low-key expect it to happen. But dear Lord, it can't. It shouldn't, because if it does, well, we're not going to win.